Hi everyone, I'm Jack. Just kidding, I'm Mishkaa. But the idea for today is Jack of all trades is a master himself. Have you heard that before? My guess would be no. But what you've probably heard is Jack of all trades, master of none. And if you're anything like me, you've probably heard that with a slightly judgmental tone. You know that one that goes like, oh, so she does everything, but isn't really great at anything. Yeah, that one. See, we live in a world which tells us to just pick one thing. But I realize something much bigger than that. We were never told the truth as children. The real saying isn't actually Jack of all trades, master of none. That's only half true. It's actually Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. Oftentimes better than the master of one. That small, forgotten ending changed everything, at least for me. I've always been the kind of person who juggles multiple activities at once. Basketball, painting, sketching, debating, money, and yes, studying too, because apparently that's a requirement. I used to think that that was the problem. For the longest time, I thought doing so much is what made me less. Because everywhere I looked, I saw people who had their thing. The maths genius, the science topper, the coder, the singer, and so many more. Because then there was me, the depends on the day kid, still figuring out which activity to take upon today. But one day I stopped. I stopped and asked myself, what if one door closes? See, I'm not disregarding the masters. Their dedication is inspiring. But what if the one door in which I'm a master in suddenly closed? What was I to fall back upon? Now, this is where everything changed. One day, I was sitting in the lounge, pretending to do my homework, but actually eavesdropping on my dad and his friends. They were having one of those serious grown-up conversations about investments. But they kept saying this one phrase over and over again. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I didn't get it at first. I thought, why are we talking about eggs? Is somebody buying a chicken farm? But then I realized, wait a second. They weren't talking about chicken farms. They were talking about investments. Investments in money. So, if that held true for them investing their money, shouldn't it also hold true for me investing my time? Why are we taught to put our entire selves into one skill, one dream, one identity, when life could just flip any second for us too? Even history proves it. This line, Jack of all trades, master of none, oftentimes better than the master of one, dates back to the 16th century. A writer named Robert Greene used it to mock William Shakespeare, not knowing the second half of the quote itself. He said Shakespeare was doing too many things in theater. But I'd say thank goodness he did, because Shakespeare's ability to act, write, create is what made him Shakespeare, the legend who defined literature for us today. His versatility was his superpower. And in today's world, that couldn't be truer. Right now, the world doesn't need the ones who are perfect at one thing. We need those who can learn, the ones who are ready to adapt. I remember one day, I was leaving basketball class and rushing for art class. But I stopped. I saw my friend, one of the most dedicated players on the team, staying back and shooting baskets by herself. Of course, intrigued by her dedication, I went up to her and I asked her, don't you have another class to attend to? She looked genuinely shocked, but politely smiled and said, no, this is the only class I do apart from academics. Now, I remember being surprised because I could think of 10 other activities I had lined up for the week. I sat in my car thinking, what's the point of doing so many things if I can't even be the best at one? But then just a few weeks later, something clicked. My mom and my aunt were talking. They were discussing my cousin. Apparently, my cousin, who was dreaming of going to this one dream university of hers, didn't get in. The reason? She didn't have enough variety. Apparently, the university wasn't looking for the ones with just perfect grades. They wanted ones who were curious, who could multitask, the ones who had range. And that's when I realized, being a jack doesn't mean I'm scattered. It means I'm prepared for anything. I can't even describe to you how I felt. It was as if a whole weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But you see, now you know why I talk about this topic. It's not because I find it interesting or relevant. It's because I've lived it. My parents never told me to pick one thing. They told me to explore, to try, to fail and to fail some more. And because of that, I've learned something powerful today. Your ability to code may one day help you be a better problem solver. Your ability to do art may help you tell better stories. Every skill you pick up connects to another, and every experience you gain builds into something so much bigger. Because a world where everything changes faster than your mood, flexibility isn't optional, it's essential. Because you can be the master of business, technology, or whatever it may be, but without communication and creativity, your brilliance won't reach anyone. But guess who has the skills of the two C's, communication and creativity? That's right, a jack of all trades. The hardest question people like me get, and I swear this question haunts me more than my to-do list. So Mishkaa, what's your main thing? And when I tell them, well, I like a bit of everything, I see that polite smile again. The one that says, oh, so you haven't figured your life out yet. I know that smile way too well. Friends, relatives, even random uncles at family gatherings gave it to me. But here's what I know now. Being a jack doesn't mean I'm lost. It means I'm curious. I'm exploring. And I'm definitely not afraid to keep becoming. Because I don't do many activities because I can't choose. It's because each one I take up teaches me something different. Honestly, let's take a moment to think about this. How many of y'all have ever given up a hobby or a passion simply because somebody said, you're doing too much? Or, there's no credit in that. Or, no, there's no future in this. Or my personal favorite, you don't stand a chance. There's too much competition. Because as we've all been told, you have to be the best, right? If you're not the best, you're just a jack. And somewhere along the way, being the jack of all trades becomes a polite way of saying, not good enough. But think about this. To the adults in this room, what if you had held on to that one passion and pursued it? That one hobby that made you feel alive? It might not have become your job, but wouldn't it have added something to you as a person? So you see, life will always try to make you choose. One path, one dream, one version of yourself. But maybe you weren't ever meant to fit inside one box. Maybe you were meant to build many. Because I've learned mastery isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up fully for every single thing that calls your name. You don't have to have it all figured out. You simply need to keep showing up with curiosity, with courage, with heart. Because the world doesn't belong to those who play it safe. It belongs to those who are not afraid to begin again, to reinvent, to become. So if there's one thing you take from my talk today, take this. Don't shrink yourself to fit to the title of master. Don't apologize for being interested in too much. Be the painter who debates. Be the coder who dances. But most importantly, be that student who dreams. Be everything you are and everything you're still becoming. Because the truth is, You don't need to be the master of one thing. You just need to be the master of becoming more. Thank you.